All right, welcome everyone, and thanks for attending tonight's PlayHQ webinar on the database and registration setup for representative clubs who play in tournaments and the Country Basketball League. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. My name is Kevin and I'm from the Basketball Victoria Digital Support Team, and tonight I'm joined by Matt, who will be taking you through the demonstration and training, and also by Dave, who will be answering your questions via chat. So if you have any questions throughout tonight's session, please ask them via the chat function in Zoom. So in tonight's session, Matt will be showing you how to set up your rep club database, registration supplements, which include merchandise, discounts, and custom fields, the registration form setup and a demonstration of a registration, allocation of players to teams and then teams to grades, and post-registration tasks such as reporting. The session will go for about an hour, and we will also be sending out a recording of the session afterwards, so don't worry if you've missed anything, as we'll be covering a fair bit of material. Before I throw over to Matt, just a few points of note. Firstly, all associations by now should have their own association database. Some of you will have access to that database if you're also involved in the domestic side of things at your association. But please note though that the association database is for competitions that you run, whereas you'll also have a club database for competitions that your rep club will enter teams into, such as the CBL or tournaments. This is the space that we'll be operating in tonight, and it is exactly the same as what a domestic club will utilise when they enter teams into various competition seasons that they participate in at domestic association level. So what we'll be doing in the next few days, we'll be in touch with you to provide you with access to your rep club database if you don't already have access. Secondly, PlayHQ programs. That feature is due to be released in a couple of weeks' time. We will be holding a webinar like tonight to show you how to use that facility. That will be used to capture registrations for things like rep tryouts, and for those associations that have rep teams that only play in tournaments and not a league such as the CBL or the VJBL, you'll be able to take your rep season registrations and payment through PlayHQ programs. So stay tuned for an announcement in the coming week or two on that. And finally, as most of you will be aware, PlayHQ was built from the ground up for Basketball Victoria. Our approach is to build the system in a way where each module or each new bit of functionality will be built to a base foundation level first to get us up and running. And once all modules are built, we'll circle back around to enhance. So there's still a lot more functionality that's on the way. So Matt, I might throw over to you now to take everyone through the demonstration and training component.
Well, thank you, Kev. Share my screen. All right, can you see that? Okay, cool. Yeah, hi everyone, and thanks for attending tonight. As Kev said, my name's Matt. I'm part of the digital support team. No doubt I've met quite a few of you online, probably through support tickets. But yeah, as Kev said, there's a fair bit to get through tonight, so we'll get started. So the first thing I just want to mention is that this demo we're doing in what we call our UAT environment, which is our testing environment. And there may be some things that look slightly different to what you can see in your versions of the PlayHQ admin site. So yeah, don't be too concerned if you do see slight differences. The reason is that this is our testing environment that we're doing this demo in. So the first thing I'm going to show you with the functionality is the overview section. And some of you may have already been here and set up these things, but we'll just go through it quickly. So for those of you who haven't done it, you're aware. So we're going to go My Organization. We're then going to click Overview. Here's some basic details, public details, which will appear on the playhq.com website. So your logo, and if your logo isn't appearing there, please submit a support ticket with an image file of your logo, and we'll organize the PlayHQ team to get that uploaded for you. But I know, I think quite a few of you, if you've had your club set up recently, you would have submitted the logo, and that will appear there. Your organization website. So this is an external website which you may have for your club or association. You can also put a Facebook page in there if that's your primary mode of promoting yourself online. So that's where you put that. And again, that will appear on playhq.com for your organization. Terms and conditions. So this is completely optional, but if you have specific terms and conditions for your organization, you can choose a format in which to enter them. So either a website URL or text input, and then you put the link there if it's obviously a website URL. And then this will be an optional T's and C's that you can add to your registration form, and we'll go through that in a bit later, show you how to do that. But again, that's completely optional, only if you have T's and C's or policies that you want your members to agree to. And then you've got a club team nickname abbreviation, and this will just help you with a nickname when you're creating teams. So again, that's an optional feature, but if you change any of this, click update and save, and then that will obviously then save. Next area I'm going to look at is contacts. So here is your primary contact information for your organization. Again, this information will appear on playhq.com for the public to view and to be able to contact your organization if required. So you can put in your email address, which is normally, I guess, a generic email normally for most organizations, a phone number, and then obviously address details as well. Again, click update and save. Vouchers, I'm going to go through this a little bit later on because it's more related to registration, and I'll come back to that. The last part here is payments. So this is where you will submit your payment details for your organization. And what will happen here is that you'll submit your club's preferred bank account details and some verification documents to then submit it with our payment provider, which is Stripe, who will then create an account for you at their end, and then link that account back to PlayHQ, so you can then add fees to your registration forms and obviously collect fees and have that money dispersed into your nominated bank account. Okay, so you just need to do that once. There is a form there for this organization. We've already submitted that form, but there'll be a button there to select. Click that, fill out the form, and then once you've done that, you'll then be able to add fees to your registration forms. The next thing I'm going to look at is admins. So again, under my organization, select admins. And here is where you would invite a fellow admin if they need access to the admin portal for your organization. So you can invite the new admin, you put in their name, their email address, and then send them an invite. And that will prompt them to create a PlayHQ account for themselves if they haven't already. And as you may be aware, within PlayHQ, you've only got one account. So you as administrators have a PlayHQ account, which you can also use to register yourself as a player, coach, or register your children as well. So you only need the one login across the platform. But if you do need extra people to be involved at an admin level, this is where you would invite them to be part of that. Okay. Next thing I'll show you is accepting invitations. So I'm going to go competitions. And then here you'll see a list of your competitions or previous or current competitions that you've accepted an invite for. But for this example, I'm going to go invitations, click there. And you'll see there's two pending invites for our for this club to be part of. So we've got a Summer 2021 webinar tournament, which is the competition or the tournament they'll be using as a demonstration tonight. And we've also just created one just so you see what it looks like for the CBL teams, a CBL competition, which again will look something like this. And what you need to do in order to be part of that competition and then to be able to set up registrations is accept that. So for tonight, I'm going to use the webinar tournament as an example. I'm going to accept that. Okay, I'm going to go back to my competitions, and you can now see that competition or tournament is now available here. But before I get into setting up a registration form, I just want to show you some, I guess, registration supplements or optional features around your registrations that you can set up before actually setting up your registration form. So I mentioned it before, but the vouchers, which is here in your overview section, here's where you can create a voucher for a certain amount. And then you can see there's a code here. You can copy that code, provide it to your members or registrants who are applicable for that voucher. And then whatever that amount is, that will take off from the club fee within the registration form. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this code. Okay, I'm going to use that later on when we actually go through a real registration form and show you how that's applied. But you can create the voucher here. You can create as many as you want. Yeah, so again, optional feature, but it's definitely handy. And here's some examples of how it could potentially be used. Next thing I'll show you is merchandise. So I'm going to click on products. All right, and here is where you can add, again, optional purchases or merchandise products to your registration forms that will then allow your members or registrants to then select and purchase these different bits of merchandise. So obviously common merchandise is clothing, whether it be a hoodie, a singlet, shorts, etc. You can select, you can set the the available sizes and the amounts that are available. So if I just click on, I'll just click on this singlet. Okay, you put in the product name, whether it's active. Okay, you can upload images. That's a new feature that was recently released into the platform, but you can add images. And you'll see down here, there's product variations. So you can add different variations. So color, for example, and obviously a popular one will be sizes. You can add the different sizes there for people to then select. Okay, and here are all the different variables, which can be different amounts. All right. Cool. So we'll add those merchandise products in the form a little bit later on. All right. So now I'm going to go into the competition, which is the summer 2021 go view. All right, and now we'll see our grades, teams, participants, and registration. So I'm going to select registration. And before I set up my forms, I'm just going to do set up a custom field. Okay, so these are fields that you can use to gather information that the form doesn't already gather. So obviously mandatory or preset fields include the person's name, date of birth, address, all those sort of common fields. But if you have specific information that you want to collect for your club or association through the registration process, you can add a custom field. Okay, so it could be, what team you want to play for. You can do a text box or a drop-down list. So for this, I'll give them some options, and then they can choose from the option set. Cool. The role that this custom field will appear for. So for this example, we use players, and then also the type of forms. So we'll just have the participant to club form for this one, and then scroll back up to the top, click create. And now that custom field is created and will appear in the form that we'll create shortly. Okay. And the last thing I want to show you before I'll just hand back over to Kev, see if there's any questions, is setting up a family member discount. So how the family member discount works is that you can put a percentage, and that percentage amount will be taken off the fee that is set by the organisation in the registration for any subsequent children that are registered under the parent's account. So If a parent is registering 3 kids, the first child will pay full price, and then the second and third child, if they're all registered under the one account, will then only pay, will have, 10% taken off the organisation fee for that registration. So again, completely optional, but that's up to you if you want to provide that type of discount. All right, Kev, are there any questions?
Yeah, we had a couple questions come through. Sarah's asked about the absence of the invitation option, like being invited to a competition. And I suspect what's happening there, Sarah, is you're probably looking at your association database. So as I mentioned at the start, each of these associations are going to have an association database for competitions that you guys run. And you're also going to have a separate club database for competitions that you participate in as a club. So we'll be in touch regarding that in the coming week to give you guys access. Adam's asked about vouchers and whether there's a danger of vouchers being forwarded on to other people. So yeah, it depends on the way you set up your voucher. So you can set up your voucher to be a one-time use voucher or a multi-time use voucher. And obviously if you set up a multi-time use voucher, it can be used up to the number of times that you set it to be. So there is a risk that can be passed on, but you can always report on that in the reporting that Matt will show you later to identify anyone who's used it that shouldn't have used it. The other thing I just wanted to talk about briefly, Matt, if you jump into the admins section there, one thing that I strongly recommend you guys do is use your personal email address rather than a shared email address like associationcommittee@gmail.com. And the reason for that is because when someone moves on from the association, it's a lot harder to revoke their access if everyone's using like a shared email account. So everyone should use their own personal email account, and as Matt touched on, can double as their personal participant account. Give them access, and when that person moves on from the association, you can revoke their access. All right, back to you, Matt.
Cool. So just whilst we're here, there's also 2 role types, being club admin and then the e-scoring one as well. So just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay, so we will go to set up a form now. So I'm going to go back into the competition, go back into the registration tab. And now I'm going to set up a participant to club form, okay? Before I do that, just to note that there are 2 types of forms available to you here. So the first one is participant to club. And what will happen there is that the participant will register to the club directly. That participant will then go into, I guess, a pool of players. And then from there, you will manually allocate them to the teams that they're going to participate in. But if you want your participants or your players to register directly to a team, you'll then need to set up a form for a participant to club team. And then you'll then be able to get a unique link for each team to provide to those players to then register to directly. But we'll set up that shortly, but we'll start with participant to club and set up that form first. So click on set up form. I'm then going to put the registration period. So this is the period that your members will be able to register to this form. All right, so I'm just going to select the date in the past and put 5th of December. There's an overview of the registration fees from the high level, which in this case is the BB license fee, which will either be for the seniors $39 or for juniors $25, and they'll be applied if the player's BB license has expired or will expire during the competition or tournament that they are registering to. You'll see if there's an association fee that the player will pay. Again, that will appear here, which in this case is $0. And then you can set a registration fee for your player. So this is the fee that you as the organisation will receive. So I'll just say it's $50. There's also a coach fee, team manager fee. I'm yet to come across an organisation that charges their coaches and team managers because they're generally volunteers, but there is that option there if there is a requirement to do so. If you want to drill down and offer different fees for your players, there's this advanced registration fees, and there you can add a different age range. So you might have your younger age group pay less than your older age group, or if your boys pay more than the girls, or vice versa. Again, you can set that up here. But for this example, I'll leave that unticked, and we won't do that. You'll see that custom field that I created before is appearing because it's for a player in a participant to club form. Okay, we've got products. So this is the merchandise, and I'm just going to select that singlet as an option. And then you've got some overview information. So if you want to put some information around the pricing, what does the $50 cover or something like that, you can put that there, or any additional information required, and that will appear at the start of the registration form, which I'll show you shortly. If you have any T's and C's, which I showed you in that first page in the overview section, you can turn that on, so that link would then appear for your members to agree to the T's and C's for your organisation, as well as the T's and C's set at the high level from Basketball Australia, Basketball Victoria, and if the association has fees too, T's and C's, they'll appear there as well. And the last option for your forms is the registration visibility. So this is where you would choose whether the form will be publicly available on playhq.com. So I guess, seeming that you're mainly rep clubs or CBL teams, I expect that you won't want your forms to be publicly available for anyone to register to. So I think in most cases, you'll want to leave your forms hidden like this. Okay, and now I'm going to click Save. You'll see the form has been created. The registration status is open because that registration period, we're within those dates. And here you'll see it's hidden, which is what I just set. But what you can do, so even though it's not, your form's not publicly available on playhq.com, you can use this unique link, which is a unique link just for this form, to provide to your players who you want to register to the competition or tournament to participate in. Okay, so you can copy that, send an email to all your applicable players, and then they can use that link to register and not have to go through playhq.com, which would then be publicly available for anyone to register to. Okay, so I'm going to go through that form shortly, but I'm just going to quickly set up a participant to club team form as well, which looks pretty much exactly the same as what we just set up. Okay, so I'll quickly do that. I'll set a $50 fee again. Cool. Save. Cool. And I'll show you how you get a link for a team a bit later on. All right. So I'm going to click on this link, which is going to take me to the registration form that I've just created for the participant to club. Okay. So the first thing to note here, you'll see top right, my name's appearing here. So that means that I'm logged in. And in order to register in PlayHQ, you need to be logged in to do so. So if that was showing as sign up or log in, I would need to do that before commencing this. Now, I think most of your players will already have a PlayHQ account and their parents will have registered them before, but it's really important, especially for junior players, that their parents will need to create a PlayHQ account for themselves in order to then register their kids as what we call dependents. Okay, and I'll show you an example of that a little bit later on, but I guess really enforce that with your parents, that they have to create a PlayHQ account for themselves so they can then register their children. Okay, so we're here on the home page, gives you an overview of the registration. If you had any additional information or pricing information, that would appear here. So I'm going to get started and I'm going to choose who I'm registering. So I'm going to register two types of people. The first person I'm going to register is actually myself, okay, as an adult who is a coach of a rep team. Okay, so I'm going to select myself and I'll go through register someone else as a player after this. Okay, so select continue. I then have three options. I can either register as a player, as a coach, or a team manager. So as I mentioned, I'm going to register as a coach for this example. Continue. And you'll see my details are pre-populated. Okay. Let's keep scrolling down. For coaches, there's some specific coach fields that will appear. So the level of their coach accreditation. If they have a working with children check number, they would put that in here. Obviously, it's important that we keep the kids safe and record this information, which can be done via the coach registering in PlayHQ, and then save and continue. Okay, because I'm a coach, there was no fee set, so the fee is 0. And then we've got these T's and C's. So the first one here is just a T's and C's around Basketball Victoria and associated organisations to receive offers from partners, affiliates and third parties. And the second one here is for the T's and C's. So if I click on this, you'll see there's T's and C's from the national level, from us at the state level, the association and the club. So the registrant can review these terms and conditions and then obviously have to agree to them. Okay, we then get to our products, which is our merchandise. We've got the choice there to select a singlet. I'm not going to do that for this because I'm the coach, but I'll show you how to do that for the player. And then I'm going to click continue. Because I've got no fees to pay, the credit card information does not appear here. So I just have to quickly review it. And yep, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to submit the registration. And then I'll receive this screen to show that I've successfully registered. All right, so I've registered myself as a coach. Now I'm going to register one of my kids as a player. So I'm going to register another participant. And this time I'm going to register one of my kids. So you'll see here, I've got the option to either register a new family member or dependent, or if I'm a parent who has registered my kid before, whether that be with your organization or another club association, as long as they're logging in and using their same PlayHQ account, the system will remember who their kids or dependents are. All right, so for this example, I'm going to register Kev Jr. Click continue. I'm going to select player. Okay, because I'm registering a player obviously this time. And then we've got, again, their personal participant details. All right. Because it's a child that I'm registering, it will ask for the school and the year level. So I'll just put in, okay, and we've actually got a full list of schools now in here that can be selected. And then I can choose the year level that they're currently part of. Disability details. And here's this custom field that I created before. So what team do you want to play for? Drop down list. I'll select the Bulls. Okay. Keep scrolling. And now click save and continue. And I'll get to the fee section. I can now see that $50 fee that I set in the registration form for players, which will appear here. Keep scrolling down. Again, I'll select the, I'll confirm tick the T's and C's. The merchandise product appears. Okay, so I'm gonna get one of these. Put my surname on the back. Add the order. And you'll see if I could here, I can see a summary of the singlet, which is $50 plus the $50 player fee, so $100 I'll be paying at checkout. Continue. Okay, and now because I've got a fee to pay, I'll put in credit card number. If you haven't figured out already, this is a dummy credit card, so Please don't screenshot. 1, 2, 3, I'll put a fake address in the billing address there. Okay. And then I've got my order summary. So I've got the club player registration fee for $50 Singlet. And there's the voucher. So I'm going to paste that voucher. Hopefully it's still there. So that's where I copied the code from the previous voucher page that I was on earlier in the webinar. I'm going to apply that. And you'll see that that $50 has taken that amount off the club registration fee. So pretty much I don't have to pay for that because it's the same amount. And therefore at checkout, I'm only going to pay the $50 for the Singlet. Okay, so that's how the vouchers work. I'm just going to quickly review that. Yes, I'm happy. Confirm the purchase. Processing, and my registration has again been successful. Upon completing this registration, I'll also receive 2 emails. One is a confirmation email, and the second is an invoice email. So if someone doesn't receive that and they think they've registered, it's not because they haven't got to this last section and successfully registered. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you my profile as the person who registered my kid, as well as myself as a coach. So I'm going to select my name top right, click profile. You'll see my name appears in my details. If I go to registration history, I can see that the coach registered 2 time ago will appear here. Okay, so people can review the details that they registered with for that particular registration. If I go to Kev Jr., which is the player I registered, again, his registration is showing that player registration that I just completed. Cool. All right, I might hand back over to Kev. Are there any questions?
Yeah, there've been a few questions coming through, but Dave's been all over that in the chat. Just wanted to provide a bit of context of where we're at for rep clubs in this I guess the timeline here. So as I touched on at the start, for things like tryouts at the start of the season, for rep tryouts, you'll be using the PlayHQ programs that's going to come in a couple of weeks for that. So players are everyone's going to register. You do your team selection, right? And for those of you who have CBL, then players will go off to register to that once they've been selected. And for those of you who don't have that, you'll go off and register for the junior country rep squad season in programs. A lot of the reasons why Matt's saying that we might hide the form here, that's because by this stage, you're actually registering to CBL or registering to a tournament. So you've done all your team selections, your open tryouts have come and gone. And the reason why we're hiding these forms is because you know who you're sending these links to. You don't want people that haven't been selected to a team to register. The other thing I just wanted to touch on is, the Basketball Victoria license applies to tournaments. So just like most of you be aware, the Basketball Victoria license will appear on that registration form, and you, as a participating player, you'll be charged for that if you don't already have a license that covers you for the entire season you're registering to, whether that be the CBL season or that particular tournament you're registered to. If you've already got a license that covers you, sweet, it won't show. But if not, you'll be charged in advance of that expiring, so no one ever expires mid-tournament or season. All right, cheers, Matt.
Cool, thanks, Kev. Okay, so now I'm going to go through post-registration tasks for you as an administrator for your organization. So the first thing we're going to look at is participants. And here you'll see a list of participants, players, coaches, team managers who have registered to this, this tournament or competition. So you'll see here you've got Kev Jr., the player I registered, and then myself as coach who registered as well. If I click on view for Kev Jr., you can see his registration history for your organization here, and then also some personal information here as well. If I just click on that down, you'll also be able to see the custom field answers that this player or their parent has completed, which again may help you with certain certain things with organizing your teams and things like that. So that's where you view a list of all your participants. They'll start to appear here, and you'll see currently unallocated. So now what I'm going to go is into teams and show you how to add a team. So click on that. All right, we'll give it an age group, gender, and we'll call this the, we'll just call this the under 12 Bulls. Okay, add team. And now we've got the under 12 Bulls teams here. So I'm going to view. And for this example, I'm going to manually allocate the players who have registered, or the player has registered, which in this case is Kev Jr. So I can select that player here, allocate him, and now you'll see that player is then allocated. So that's the manual option, which you may want to do. You may want to ask your players to register using a participant to club form, which you'll then have to manually go through this process and allocate players for each of your teams. The other way to do this is, you'll see here for this team, we've got a unique link, which is a unique registration link, which has been created as part of that participant to club team form. Okay, so what you can do here is copy this link. If you've got, say 7 players who will be participating in this team, you can provide them with this unique link and ask them to register directly to the team, which will then automatically allocate them to the team, so you don't have to manually do that. So they're your 2 options that you can take. Some people like to manually do it. Others like to send that unique registration team link to each of the players who will be participating. You can also print a team list report, which looks like an Excel doc with a list of all the player details, coach, team manager details, etc. The grade, which we haven't allocated the team to grade yet. We'll do that shortly. And then you can allocate a coach as well. So I'm going to allocate myself because I registered as a coach. And again, that coach is now linked to that team, so you can manually do that. Cool. All right, so now let's go to grades. I'm just going to go back. I'm going to go to grades. So here are the grades that have been set up at the association level who are running the tournament or competition. And you'll see there's a little green padlock there. So that means that the clubs or the organizations who have been invited into that tournament or competition, they can create their own teams and then allocate them to the specific grade. So I'm going to click on plus here. I'm going to allocate a team, which in this case is that under 12 Bulls team I just created. Okay, and now that team is then allocated. If that padlock is locked, that means the association has locked the grades from the teams from being allocated or moved around if needed. So the important thing to note here is the associations, they have overriding access over this, but generally you as a club will know which grade your teams will be participating in, and that's why this is a task for you to do whilst the association allows it. All right. Let's just have a look at reporting. Okay. So the key reports here from your level is the participation report, which is this one down here. So this will show you or generate an Excel file with, I guess, each player who is registered to your competition and the specific season. And it'll also show you all the additional information like custom fields and everything like that. So again, a handy report for you to use. That's the main one you'll use in this section. There's a number of other reports here, which I won't go through now, but feel free to have a look at them and see what they do. Financial. So the 2 reports here, which will be of interest, is the transaction report. So that will show a line for each transaction or each registration, and the amounts paid. If there was a voucher applied, that information will appear in the transaction report as well, so you can view that. And then we've got the payout report. Okay, so how the disbursement of payments works. An organisation will be paid once every 48 hours for the payments that they receive through registration. So for your organisation, within a 48-hour period, if you had 10 registrations and individual transactions, those payments will be bundled into, I guess, a batch of payments, which will then be dispersed. And each of those disbursements will appear here in your payout report. So that will help you reconcile your accounts and know where the payment is from. We've got orders. So this is your merchandise report, and we'll show a list of all the merchandise orders, and you could potentially use that to provide to suppliers. Excuse me. Okay, and the last few things to show you, not too long to go. I just want to show you the public site. Sorry, I'm just going in the way. Okay, so here we're in PlayHQ.com. And yeah, this is the public site where you'll be able to view fixtures and ladders for your tournaments or competitions that you're participating in. So for this example, I'm looking at the association. If I scroll down, here's a tournament. You'll see that we've got different pools available here. And then you'll see a list of games, round 1, pool A, pool B, teams with the bye, round 2, etc. And then we have the club view, which looks somewhat similar, but a little bit different. So I've got a team for this club, the under 12 boys Warriors. They're playing in the Hawthorn Basketball Association Hawthorn Classic. And again, this is an individual view for that team. So they're round 1 fixture, round 2, round 4 is a bye, round 5. Okay, so as a club, what you can do, you can copy this link here, which is a unique link to then post on your own website or on social media to promote your tournaments or your teams that are participating in tournaments for people to view their progress, scores, whatever. We've also got a ladder, and this is what the ladder will look like for the tournament. And there's some advanced options there. And the last thing I'll show you before handing back over to Kev is this is the support site. So I know a lot of you have been here before, but it's just worth touching on. Here is where you can view a number of really handy articles. We're going to be, I think they're already published a bunch of articles around tournaments. So that should help you do what you need to do and recap, I guess, what we've discussed here tonight. If you do need to get in contact with us, best way to do that is by starting a conversation here, which will create a support ticket, which myself, Kev and Dave monitor daily, and we'll get back to you quite quickly. If you do have any questions or if any issues pop up, let us know and we'll be able to help you here. So that's it from me. I'll just hand you back over to Kev for any final questions and then just a recap.
Yeah, thanks for that, Matt. So yeah, there've been a few questions coming through, and I think there's been a theme to it where I guess the first theme is, just sit tight for a couple of weeks. We anticipate first week of December, we'll be releasing the programs functionality, which will take care of your tryouts and coach applications and stuff like that. There's a suggestion that in Sports TG, you used to be able to buy merchandise, I guess, outside of a registration, but that's not entirely true, because every time someone bought a product in Sports TG, it actually registered you to the season. So PlayHQ works the same way, where first and foremost, it's a registration and competition management system. It's not it's not a online shop. And I think just sit tight for that, and more will come out. And I think there was a question there too from Penny about further enhancements to filtering and searching for players. Yeah, like I mentioned at the start, PlayHQ was built from the ground up, and we've got a pretty significant development roadmap and wish list for things that we would like them to build. But like all big things, we've got to take baby steps and build the basic functionality to get us up and running first before we loop back around and enhance. So yeah, look, that concludes our presentation for tonight. So thanks for attending. I hope everyone found the session to be beneficial. The recording of the session will be sent out first thing tomorrow morning. As mentioned, we'll be in touch in the coming week to provide you with access to your rep club. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in contact via the support portal. Other than that, thanks for attending, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.